Good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. Today I want to talk to you about home security issues involving firearms. We all know all the tricks. You can read about them online, you can see videos online, and probably everything I'm going to tell you, you can find somewhere online too. But we're going to condense it, and these are tactics, techniques, and procedures that I have used over the years in various settings, from cities to suburban areas to out in the rural kind of areas to extremely rural areas. No, I'm not going to tell you exactly what I do here because that's operational security, but these things I think will be useful to you. Number one, have a gun. Sounds smart, right? Sounds like common sense. You have to have a gun within reach. You have to be able to reach out and touch your firearm wherever you are. The best way to do that is to keep it in a holster on your body. You should have your gun in a holster. It's also the safest way with children around, right? You just keep it in a holster, no big deal. But I get it. You've come home, it's been a long day, it's a hard day, you want to put on your boxers or your sweats or your PJs or your nightgown, whatever, and just chill. And so you're not going to have a gun strapped on. You're not going to wear a shoulder holster or something, right? I get it. Well, in that case, you're going to have a gun within arm's reach wherever you are. A simple way is just to carry it. Now, you have to do that safely, right? All gun safety rules apply. You have to be able to move with your firearm safely. But go sit down. Let's say you're sitting in the living room watching TV. There's nothing wrong with sticking it right there on the nightstand, or what is it, coffee table, right next to you, end table. Watch your TV. But when you get up to go refresh your drink or get a snack or make a sandwich in the kitchen, you got to take your gun with you, right? Because having the gun in the living room when bad things happen and you're in the kitchen with no gun, that's no bueno. So that's one thing, have a gun within arm's reach. Another technique is to keep guns all over your house loaded, ready to go. For years, my wife and I kept a loaded 357 on top of the refrigerator. She was always in the kitchen, and she was always like 1 or 2 steps away from the fridge because it was a small kitchen most of the time. And so she always had access to a firearm in the room that she mostly was. When we had a big homeschool classroom, oh yeah, she had a gun in that classroom because she didn't carry, at that time, she didn't carry a gun in a holster. So she just put different guns in different rooms, and that's okay. You're a couple steps away. But the best case is to be, you got the gun in your hand, wherever it is. So have a gun available. That's number one. Be safe with kids. I'm not going there right now. That would make this video too long. Although Masad Ayub had a little booklet out called Gun Proof Your Children. That was a pretty good book. All right, another one. The bedside gun. The best gun for home defense is a shotgun. When they hear that sound, they go running. That's stupid. The only thing they should hear, and that's if they have extremely acute hearing, is that safety coming off that gun right before you pull that trigger. But I used to keep a shotgun next to my bed. And then I read a horrifying story, which I'll just make short. Somebody had a family member hostage inside the home. Guy's loaded with a shotgun with, double-aught buck in it. What to do at that point, right? He's pointing at the bad guy. The bad guy's like this with his daughter. I teach combat shotgun. I know all about scalloping rounds, for those of you who are thinking that. You don't know where the wad's going, and at household distances, that wad can maim or kill the person you're not trying to shoot. And so I switched to an AR. So think about what kind of gun do you have in your house next to your bed. Is it a handgun? Fine, that'll work if that's all it is. But if you want something more powerful, I suggest, if you only have one, you have a rifle. That's if you have family members that could possibly be taken hostage. Or give yourself a choice. Depending on what the threat is and what the situation is, you can grab one or the other, right? Ready racks in your home, by the front door, maybe in the little linen closet, the little coat closet. Hush! Whiny pants. in the coat closet next to the door or over the door, you know, whatever. Use your imagination. But think about a shotgun in the home when a hostage situation. Speaking of in the home, we moved a lot. We moved about every 18 months for 20 years, and so we constantly had new bedrooms for us and the kids. You know, I had 3 kids, and so at various points I had 1, 2, and 3 kids. We always placed the beds in the bedrooms, the children's beds, with the thought of what happens if we wake up to chaos and I just make it to my front door and I've got, you know, to my bedroom door, and I have to do battle in the house with the children still at the far end of the house or down the hallway or whatever. Where are my bullets going when I'm shooting a bad guy in the hallway? And so we made sure their beds were out of the line of fire. We also trained our children with a code word, which our code word was Rumpelstiltskin, to all hide and not come out until we gave another code word, which was Goldilocks, to come out, so they would be down and out of the way, out of the line of fire. But think about where other people are in your house, because even shooting a shotgun with birdshot will go right through drywall, right into the next room. And so lay out your house with gunfire in mind. Another thing to do is come up with actual plans on how you are going to move through your house and what you're gonna do in the event of bad guys entering your home. It's a pretty good rule of thumb when you hear people say, don't try to clear your house by yourself. I know how to clear buildings and rooms. Doing it by yourself is, wow, you don't really want to do that, right? But sometimes you got to move from point A to point B. If you hear your little girl screaming at the far end of the hallway and you hear chaos in the living room, you're just going to sit there and call 911? You know you're not. And so you got to know how to move, right? Beyond the scope of this video. Do the best you can with what you got where you're at, but a technique is to get 2 airsoft guns. You can even get the cheap ones, you know, the little spring-fed ones, that because you're only shooting generally 10 to 15 feet inside a house. And practice with your spouse or your loved ones. One of you play the bad guy, the other one play the good guy, and try to do real scenarios. Remember, in all training, we're training the good guy. It's not like, ha ha ha, got you, ha ha ha. You're trying to train the good guy. You know, okay, so you're in bed now, you normally keep your gun here, okay, put the airsoft gun there, okay, you hear a noise down in the living room, what do? And then practice that. That's a technique. My wife and I did that. I guess the final thing for this video, and it's something I thought about, is how do you answer the door at night? You know, in the country, everybody's got a gun, and in the country, and I've lived in rural environments in several different states. My dog is just whining. Hush! No! Sorry. You don't knock on doors in rural America at night. It's dangerous. Everybody's got a gun in their hand. And I don't know how well most of them are trained. It's just not done. You don't knock on a door at night, right? People are suspicious at night, as they should be. But there is a knock on the door. How do you answer the door? What do you do? What you've decided, I mean, you can't, I guess you could, you know, hi, it's I'm sorry to disturb you, sir, but my car broke down, or, you know, it's your neighbor lady all beat up, or she's screaming her husband beat her up or whatever. What do you do? Say you can't come in? You know, I mean, I can think of 1,000 scenarios where you're gonna open the door, right? So how do you do that safely? I think a lot of us, because the men on this channel are pretty much manly men, real men, we think, well, I'm the man. I'll have my Glock in my hand and I'll say, can I help you? Right? And I'll open the door, put your foot behind the door so they can't bum rush you, you know, all that stuff. Well, I'll tell you, we did things differently in the Fox household. And we really did this every time we answered the door at night. We would get ready. My wife would be the one to actually open the door. I would be standing, and in different houses it was different places, in a position of pretty good cover, usually a corner in the room, with a shotgun loaded, pointed at the door. Now the person at the door who's coming in to see my wife, hi, wouldn't be looking right at me because I'd be over here somewhere. And my wife would open the door about this far with her foot behind the door, so if somebody tried to jack the door, it might not open. And she would be, let's say it's Cindy. We like Cindy, let's just say. Oh, Cindy! I would immediately set the shotgun down. Cindy would never see it because Cindy hasn't crossed the threshold yet. And then, I'd come around, hey, Cindy, how's it going, right? And that's what always was the case. We never had a bad guy. But our plan was, if it's bad guys, there's a gun in the face. You open the door, hi, there's a gun right in your face. My wife was simply going to fall straight down. Just fall straight to the ground, and I was going to start putting rounds right through that fatal funnel. That was our plan. That's a really hard plan to counteract, especially when you don't know the plan. That's not our plan here, so that's why I'm telling it to you. I haven't told anybody before. I didn't want them to know our plan. But that was our plan. If anything bad is there at the door, she just falls straight to the ground, and I go to work from my position of cover with a shotgun loaded with double-aught buck, right? So there's a plan. Another thing we did in a couple houses is we had the big can of Fox pepper spray. It's a good pepper spray. And we put a Velcro thing on it, and we put it so if my door opens up this way and my doorknob's here, we put it right here on the door. So you could open the door like this, hi, how you doing? And if it's a bad guy and they're pushing you in, it's in your hand and you're spraying them, right? We would do that too. But covered position, overwatch, it's a military concept and term. That works pretty good. And I'll get to why my dog's barking, I think, here in a minute. And it works pretty good. So think about these things. Think about placing guns in your house. But if you have guns all over your house, when we were younger and didn't have any kids, we were like a lot of my young friends. We had guns everywhere, in the couch cushions, in the closet, in this corner, laying underneath the bed, you can do that. But then be aware that sometimes unauthorized people can have access to your guns. I mean, depends what kind of friends you have, what kinds of people come over, but you would hate for some ignorant person to be sitting in your couch and go, what's this? And they've got a gun and they don't know how to safely use it. It's one reason we didn't have a Glock. Back in the early days when the Glock 17 was the only Glock, my wife had a PPKS. Here, my chicken's going off. I know, I'm being distracted by the noises down here. I'll get to that. My wife had a PPKS. She shot it for years. She wanted to go up to a 9mm. And I had a friend who was really wanting to trade straight across a Glock 17 for a PPKS, which is 380. And we decided not to, because at that time we had a kid and there's no safety on a Glock, and we didn't like that, so we didn't do it. Something to think about. Okay, take those tips, run with them, use your own, make comments, that's cool. Noises. So we are growing the most delicious strawberries. Oh man, they taste nothing like strawberries in the store. Even good strawberries in the store. Man, these things just have sweetness and depth, and you can taste a little bit of earthiness in them in a good way. I don't know how else to describe it. They're delicious. They're at the peak of ripeness when my wife picks them. And I mean, she's been picking bowls of them and bringing them in. Not enough to can yet, and probably won't have enough this year to can. And so yesterday we took off for the whole day. We went and did something. And when we came back, she goes, I got news. I said, what's that? And the night before, our male dog sleeps outside, and he had gone off in the middle of the night. Woo! And so we took our security procedures, which I'm not going to tell you about. Nothing was amiss. Yeah, there was. He scared off a deer. She said all the strawberry plants almost were gone, eaten, the plants, and there were deer footprints all over our strawberry bed. So he was sleeping a little bit too soundly, woke up, scared the deer off, and I don't know if it came back later or had already done the damage or whatever. That's one thing. So deer in the garden. And a deer-proof fence is really high and quite unsightly. And so I know I've read all the tricks about what to do for deer. So there's that. And then the other day, I don't know if I told you all this or not. I think I did. Whatever. I was walking down the road to shoot a video for y'all, and I heard all my chickens going off, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's daylight, sun's starting to come up over the trees. And found out later that day a raccoon had killed a rooster, our only rooster, and was like trying to pull it through the fence. And so we set up a have a heart live trap with the dead chicken and some marshmallows, and we caught that raccoon. And I was gonna shoot it, but my wife has a very tender heart, and so she relocated the thing about, I don't know, miles and miles away into a national forest and let it go. So there you go. And then I just bought some Duke, the kind where the raccoon reaches in and grabs the little marshmallow and traps them. I just bought some of those, and I have one of those traps up by the chicken coop as we speak, so we'll see. So yeah, the chickens are going off, the dogs are going off, because I think the deer have discovered our garden. We have woods pretty close to the garden, and I think they just kind of hide right back there. And I think the dogs are mostly sight hounds, and so when they emerge, if the dog sees them, they bark at them, and the deer just backs up and waits, you know. It's a waiting game for the garden, and the beans are starting to come up. And then I'm going to shut up for a second and see if you can hear this tractor. Can you hear that? Somebody said they like my phrase, it disturbs my shalom. I'll be glad when they're done. You know, they are building, I've gone up and scoped it out. That's actually 200 yards away. You know, 2 football fields away. Sounds like it's right there. I wake up in the morning now hearing that. They start right before dawn. They're building this huge pad. I've like scoped around the edges of it to put all these chicken houses on. Once the chicken houses are out there, it'll be quiet. Don't know that I like that either, but it is what it is, you know. Yeah, what can you do? I'm a firm believer in personal property rights, and I tried to buy that. I didn't try to buy that land. I tried to get people with a lot of money to buy that land because it was for sale for a lot of money, a lot more than I have. And so I have some friends who have some money, and I introduced them to that chunk of land when it was for sale, hoping that one of them would buy it. They didn't, and so some investor bought it, and they're going to turn it into a chicken farm. There you go. Hey, what can you do, America? All right, think about those thoughts. Stay safe. I hope you never have to really use them, but you should have some real plans in place, and you should exercise your plans. Do it safely. Think about the kids. All right, I'll see you out there.